Morning, Coach.
Coach, good morning. All
Morning.
right, thanks, everyone. We'll go ahead and start with questions.
I know you've already addressed it, but you seem to be a pretty optimistic guy with your group. As you look at that San Diego State series, are you more encouraged, discouraged because you were close, or I guess how do you, balance wanting to win games with just showing how much growth you guys have had this season?
Well, I probably encouraged just because I would have been discouraged if we would have lost playing poorly, and encouraged in that watching both game films. It's not like we played out of our minds. We didn't have like out of body of experiences to come close at San Diego State. We actually played good basketball, good sound basketball. Guys executed game plans, but we had mistakes. We had breakdowns, but we didn't see as many. And to grow against a team like that, probably the best defense we'll play all year versus their defense. They are really good defensively, very physical. They've got a rim presence in Menza. I just thought we did, for the most part, we got the shot we wanted. We took care of the basketball both games. We rebounded well both games. And those were issues in the New Mexico series. That was a week ago. I didn't think we handled the ball as well. Thought we took bad shots, and I thought we got sloppy defensively. And our concentration, our focus was much better in these two games. Now, you still want to win games, but to do that at San Diego State with this team versus what they have, very pleased and very encouraged, but we need to see that growth continue as we come back home. We hope to get Daniel back. That could be somebody that we get back by the weekend. We don't, not for sure yet, but he'll start practicing a little bit today and more as the week progresses. So we've been out with him without him the whole season. So that can help some backcourt depth, whether we get him back this week or next. We'll see how all that goes. But I'm just very encouraged because I know the type of team we just played, and it wasn't, I guess the thing, Chris, I liked best was that we responded in game two. It wasn't a, hey, we did well, we came close in game one, and now we just go out and do something different in game two. We did a really good job in game two of fighting and giving ourselves a chance again in game two. So now can we learn from that experience of how you can concentrate and you focus of what that does to your production, and come home and just keep that going, because we've still got a lot of work to do. Our bigs have got to stay out of foul trouble. And fundamentally, they have to work on these things. It can't, players have to learn, you get a foul, you can't get another foul within 30 to 60 seconds. You just can't do that. And so if we can learn how to guard fundamentally inside, that's going to really help us.
And Coach, you had mentioned possibly getting Daniel Foster back this weekend. With just him, if you do get him back, how much would that help, especially with just trying to rest Grant Sherfield a couple extra minutes instead of, just 37, 38 minutes during the course of a game?
Well, it just helps with our overall depth in the backcourt, because he can play 1 through 3. He's a point guard by trade, but I'm not sure he can't guard through the 4. Tough defender, tough kid. So he would add to our toughness. But he'll start contact this week. So I'm not sure what that means for the weekends yet. We got to see how the next 3-4 days go. But we've been cleared to start ramping up his contact now, which we haven't had that clearance yet. So he's just another very good player that you add that to your backcourt. Your rotation gets a little bit bigger, and there's not as much pressure on Dez, and definitely not as much pressure on Grant. But with that said, he hadn't played for 2.5 months. So it's, or 2 months anyway, but right at 2 months. So it's not like he's going to be Daniel of old right from day one, but minutes here and get some rest and get him going again. That would be huge for us 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road.
What was he doing during your guys' kind of training camp that you really liked and, made you think that, he could be a nice contributor as a freshman?
Just overall skill set was really good. very tough, very physical for a freshman. Doesn't have your typical, I think, from a physical standpoint, your typical freshman body. He's got great strength to him. Really knows kid that he ran the offense well when we played him at the point. Makes good decisions. I think what he's got to do is learn to play faster, and that usually happens because high school AU not quite as, I think, as intense or as fast as this level, especially with decision making, but has a really good feel, good basketball IQ, and those are all things I think immediately he can help us defensively because of his physicality and his attention to detail defensively. But those are probably the things we like most out of him.
What do you feel like your team has improved the most during these first 6 weeks or so?
I like the fact, Chris, that with this team, it hasn't been an overwhelming schedule, but it's been a very challenging schedule in that we've played, I think, and I may be played more road games than home games. That may not be a fact, so please don't hold me to that. But we've played a lot of road games, and yet we've been able to win on the road. And again, I think that it's probably relative this year because really, I think you're not playing any home games or road games. They're all neutral games, but you're still traveling. You're still going through that where you're playing on somebody's comfort level of playing at home. Like when you're at home, I get to set my testing days. I get to set my testing times of when we test for COVID. You're on the road, you're at the mercy of the road team. Like our testing was done right before shoot arounds. That's not typical, so, and I'm not, again, it's not saying anything. San Diego State was great and their organization was great of how they helped us, but it's just different when you're on the road. And yet our guys have played really good basketball away from home. Probably our worst game away from home has been at Grand Canyon. And yet I thought we did some really good things. They were a big senior dominated team with some really good size to them. And I thought we did some really good things in that game as well. So I think, to be honest with you, we probably played better away from home than we played at home. So that's been surprising with a young group. But from an X and O standpoint, I think they're getting more familiar with the offense. They're starting to make better reads. We've still got a long way to go with that. And something that helps is taking care of the ball. And we're starting to take care of the ball a little bit better, at least on this trip, than we did against New Mexico and Air Force. Our shot selection is subtly improving, but it's got to continue to improve to where we're going inside out. We settle too much for outside in, and we've got to get the thing going inside out because I do think we've got good pieces in the front court to where if we can get them more options inside, that's going to help our offense. And defensively, we seem to be getting better. I like our toughness. I think we're tougher now than what we were a month ago. We talk about it all the time, being hard to play against. I'm not sure we're there yet, but we're better now than we were 4 weeks ago on just being a harder team to compete against at both ends of the court is what we're looking for. And I think we're better now than we were 4 weeks ago with that.
How encouraging is that, knowing that, you're just about a month or so into games and that you still have about 2 months or so almost of conference play left before the Mountain West tournament?
Yeah. On since November and you weren't seeing those things, you'd be pretty discouraged. So we're encouraged as a staff because we're seeing guys working, they're putting in the time. And we've been trying to be as cautious as we can with them because it's weird times. It's just seriously going to school with no peers going, there's nothing collegiate going on that normally is going on. And so these are all strange times and we don't know what, we've had guys go through different things. We've had guys test positive. We've had guys have issues with home life and family. So you're dealing with all those things. And I just think they've done a really good job with handling all that stuff. Maybe some injuries along the way that they've had to deal with. But to see them get in the gym, to see them work, we get a couple lifts in now. We've been away from home for a while, so our weightlifting is taking a little bit of a hit. So we'll get back to that this week to see how they adjust to that and really just continue to try to enhance every part of whether it's FRC stretching, whether it's our weight training, our nutrition, what we're doing X and O wise. Obviously, there's a lot thrown at you, a young player that you just didn't have to do, whether it was in high school or AAU, and they're starting to learn that importance of it. Even the sophomores that are playing different roles this year, I think it's a learn. Learning what travel is for the first time. So all those things in mind, I'm seeing growth. Now, I hope we're doing these things a month from now, and I'm still saying we're seeing growth. I hope that there's no slippage, because we're not to a point yet as a program or with our culture yet to where we can have slippage. We got to keep this thing moving forward.
You mentioned that you feel like you've played better away from home than at home. Would you have any idea why that would be? I mean, obviously no crowd this year, so it's different, but is any, I guess, idea?
No, I just, we haven't had a game like San Francisco. We played so bad against them, and they had a lot to do with it. And that was a home game. And our second half against Air Force was so bad. And again, Air Force had a lot to do with that. But those are probably our two worst halves in a game were probably San Francisco, and that was home. And our worst 20 minutes was probably the second half against Air Force, and that was home. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. With the young team, we talked about Air Force, they're going on break the next day. So they're getting Christmas break the next day. So those are always tough games for kids to focus on. So maybe that had something to do with it. The San Francisco game, I'm not, we were coming back. I think we'd played Pacific, if I remember right before them, and had a tough, hard-fought game with them. And now here came a team that was the same league. So I don't know the reasons why. Maybe we've been on the road maybe a little bit more and we've gotten comfortable. We haven't had a lot of home games. So hopefully it's just getting a little bit more familiar with Lawler, with our guys. We're practicing them more. And we have been prior to this, just trying to get them more adjusted to it. But, and I think there's an argument anyway, Chris, that road games sometimes can be easier because there's no crowd, and it's all about you getting yourself fired up, where a lot of the home games players rely on everybody supporting them and getting them going. And so now it's consistently learning and understanding that it's your responsibility to get yourself ready to play, whether we're home, road, or we're at an outdoor court somewhere. You've got to get yourself prepared to play. But for whatever reason, our attentive to detail.
I mean, Fresno State has one of the best.
Anything else?
I was just going to ask about Orlando Robinson. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league. True can do a lot of different things. What makes him special, and what's going to be difficult about trying to slow him down in this series?
Yeah, he's got great size, great skill set. You'll see him take balls off the backboard and bring the ball up. So he's almost he can play almost point center, it seems like. But you got to guard him on the perimeter. You got to guard him inside. That's a tough matchup. And so we've got to spend a week here looking at that. And now you're seeing their guards play well. They got a lot of new guards. And against San Jose, a lot of those guards had breakout weekends and started making shots and scoring the ball. And so I think what you're seeing is, again, a lot of people's been early on that worked because guards weren't ready. What I saw in the San Jose two games that I was able to watch, those guards are getting comfortable now, and Robinson's getting smarter and more comfortable about throwing out of double teams and not forcing any double team. And they took a lot better shots in the San Jose series than what I've seen maybe in some other times. So it's just the comfortability of guards and him playing together, and you're seeing that with their team. So it should be a great two games, because I think you got two teams that are encouraged, two teams that are kind of young, that are encouraged, and they see their guys starting to just settle into what identity should look like for both of us. And it makes for a great games.
I mean, he can obviously put some fouls on guys. Why have you struggled in the front court with the fouls so much this season?
Yeah, I think a lot has to do with just the fundamental of guarding the post and then guarding guards that get beat, of how you help. So defense is a lot about how you guard your man, and then it's about how you help and recover. That's defense, because you're either guarding the ball or you're guarding help. So your positioning when you guard the ball is crucial, and your positioning when you're guarding help is crucial. And whether you're a guard or a big, you got to do those things really well. And good offenses get you to be in recovery a lot. We call those rotations. If you're in a defense that's constantly in rotation, you're in scramble mode. Those are the hardest things to guard. So right now, I think bigs have just got to focus on how you guard the ball. That's crucial. And you got a little bit different mindset than a guard. A guard sometimes is guarding the ball 25 feet from the basket. You're guarding it 8 foot and less from the basket. So can you get like a guy like Robinson? Are you allowed, if you let him catch 6 feet from the basket, you're in trouble. Can you do your work early and make him catch it 9 feet from the basket? That's just doing your job early fundamentally. So that's just an example of guarding the ball. And then when you're guarding help, are you in the right help position? If you're not in the right help position, the next thing you usually do is foul. And those are the things our bigs are really working on. They're watching a lot of film, and they've got to continue to develop in those two areas.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good week.